A $20,000 FPV swarm just walked into a $600 million S-400 shield, and found the seams. You clicked for the supply ship, you're in the right place. We're about to unpack the desaturation blow that turned a defended corridor into a kill zone. How did $8,000 decoys, spoofing, and timed volleys crack layered air defense and open a path to the refinery's core, hydrogen units, AVT towers, control room, without empty promises? Watch the real choreography. Reconnaissance eyes first, stealth corridor next, then the cascade that made expensive hardware irrelevant. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Alright, another global news. The war has shifted from conventional battlefields to strategic economic targets.
Bright glow of light, a major fire, and a thick cloud of smoke.
Ukraine is amplifying pressure on Russia's energy sector. Moscow continues its bombardment of Ukraine's power and gas infrastructure.
Why did a protected sea-land corridor flip into a kill zone the second that supply ship cut across it? The answer sits inside the way a defense breathes. The bubble looked solid. It felt thick, but it moved on a clock, and that clock could be read. The defended zone stretched from the harbor mouth to the refinery's edge. An S-400 umbrella set long-range watch. Panzer units stood closer in as bouncers, point defense for leakers. EW vans idled along service roads, throwing noise and spoof. Coastal radar kept a steady sweep off the bow, while patrols traced predictable loops around approach lanes. On paper, those layers overlapped. In practice, they traded custody on a beat. The flaw wasn't metal or software. The flaw was rhythm. Every layer had tells, search rotations that blinked, handoff delays between sensors and shooters, reload windows that opened whether the crew liked it or not. When those habits lined up, they made seams you could drive a tug through. Brief, real. So the reconnaissance phase didn't chase hero shots. It listened. Low signature scouts slid wide and low, sniffing for emitter cycles and timing the flicker from each dish and mast. They logged radar lobes as they swung, then marked where beams thinned at the edges.
This is one of the most ambitious long-range strikes by Ukraine deep inside Russia since the war began. This comes just days after Ukraine targeted a major offshore oil platform in the Caspian Sea. Kyiv has struck one of the largest Russian oil processing plants in the city of Yaroslav. The Kremlin hasn't confirmed any damage.
Terrain did the rest. Between towers, in the folds of small rises and cranes, dead ground appeared as clean as dry brush between fire breaks. The scouts wrote that map in minutes and hours, not days. Then came cost imposition. A handful of $8,000 decoys rose and wandered into the net like drunk birds. They weren't meant to win. They were meant to make the shield spend. Nearby, $20,000 FPVs prodded from different bearings, 3 at a time, then 5, then none, then 1. Each probe forced a choice: take the shot and burn an interceptor, or hold and show the operator's rules. Either way, data flowed. A $600 million air shield started to answer cheap questions with expensive words. Research on saturation makes a blunt point: the choke isn't only missile counts. It's radar processing and human bandwidth. When screens bloom and tracks multiply, decision latency forms cracks. That lag is the seam. Not long enough. At one edge, a decoy cluster climbed, noisy and bright. A Panzer turned its gaze high and left to swat the swarm. The scan cone narrowed. For about a minute, maybe a little more, a quiet lane opened low and right. Not a hole in armor. A blind spot in time. The kind that passes if you blink.
On land, Kyiv has moved to striking Russian oil vessels at sea, which it believes are part of the shadow fleet used to evade Western sanctions. Russian refineries, oil and gas export infrastructure, pipelines and offshore drilling infrastructure have been on its target list. Ukraine has struck at least 77 Russian energy facilities between August and November.
Now the maritime trigger. Once the supply ship entered, the air defense logic snapped to convoy cover. Modes changed. Scan cones narrowed to guard the ship's lane. Retasking slowed because doctrine told the operators to stay with the hull, not the horizon. That single movement bent the whole bubble toward escort duty and away from broad search. The map didn't change, the timing did. That was the reveal and the payoff. The corridor didn't fall to brute force. It was timed open. Tempo beat tonnage. Seconds mattered more than range rings, more than brochure stats, more than the comforting arc of a radar sweep. With the seam defined and clocked, the probing phase ended. The doctrine shifted. The first wave of the saturation blow would ride the silent lane while the ship held the shield's eyes. The refinery sat inside the bubble, expecting mass. It got speed, and the next move pressed that edge even harder, converting mapped rhythm into a full route for the strike packages already spinning up. Seconds decide. You turn a sliver of time into a breach by stacking moves faster than the shield can cycle. That's the whole play. Don't chase armor. Collapse tempo. Doctrine first. Decoys go up in clusters and flood sensors, fat targets on purpose. Spoofers bend tracks so the scopes show phantoms moving where nothing is. The FPV spearhead hugs the quiet lane you already timed, throttled low, blades masked by background noise. Cruise missiles ride in on staggered clocks, not a parade. One arrives as an operator blinks, the next as a radar recenters, the third as a launcher finishes breathing after a shot. Each asset lands on its own beat. Together, they make a drumline the defense can't match. Now the choice you force. Air defense crews face noise or risk. Shoot at ghosts and run tubes dry. Hold fire and let real threats bite into steel and pipe. Either way, the shield pays. That's cost imposition in live fire. You don't need to win the whole sky. You only need to win the next minute. Targeting flows in a hard sequence. Hydrogen unit first, because that's the refinery's safety heart. Take it down and everything that burns must slow or stop. Next, the AVT distillation towers, tall, hot, irreplaceable on short notice. After that, the control room. Break the eyes, lag the hands, and every other fix arrives late. The spearhead carries shaped charges and thermite for the valves and panels that matter. They're not hunting random stacks. Inside the fence, internal collapse is a blueprint. Valve clusters and pump hubs get seeded by UGVs that crawl under pipes and leave small charges with simple timers. A single cut on the right manifold sends operators into manual mode. Lights go out when rifles take down yard lamps and camera domes. Darkness is a weapon that costs pennies. EW fog blankets the net so alarms delay, comms stutter, and every voice on the net talks over dead air. You turn a system into a maze by pulling 4 wires, not 40. Run the math. A $20,000 FPV and an $8,000 decoy package trade against interceptors and radars worth fortunes, and against throughput that prints money by the hour. You don't have to destroy every node to win the ledger. You only have to make the defenders spend more than you do, faster than they can rearm.
Kyiv has moved to striking Russian oil vessels at sea, which it believes are part of the shadow fleet used to evade Western sanctions. Kyiv has struck one of the largest Russian oil processing plants in the city of Yaroslav. The Kremlin hasn't confirmed any damage. Ukraine is undeterred. It has been expanding its campaign against Russian energy infrastructure since July.
Thermal drones hang back and feed live heat maps, hot pumps, cooling loops, flare stacks, power runs. That feed sets the timing. Artillery and man-portable missiles watch for the tell, crews rushing a breach, air defense trucks shifting bays, and punch with short, sharp volleys to pin them in place. ISR calls the tune. Fires hit the downbeat. Here's how the waves play out. First wave, loud on purpose, draws interceptors and keys reload. Seconds later, the second wave slides in beneath that reload window and pops the hydrogen unit and the first AVT sections. The third arrives not on the line but off-axis, cuts the power substation that feeds pumps and the firefighting reservoirs. No power, no pressure, no quick recovery. You didn't just hit, you took away the tools they needed to stop the hit. Expensive hardware isn't junk, it's just outpaced. The saturation blow stacks decisions faster than the defense can sense, decide, and shoot. That's the win condition, speed over size, timing over tonnage. And the trigger never left the frame. The supply ship that pulled the shield into convoy mode fixed their gaze on water and wake. The swarm walked through the lane they guarded least. The refinery felt safe inside its rings. It met a clock it could not beat. Innovation is a timing weapon. Cost imposition works when you force choices faster than the shield can reload or re-aim. That's how a multi-layer defense gets outpaced, not outgunned. So what would you do? Comment your choice below. 1 upgrade to counter a saturation blow, more interceptors, faster C2, or smarter decoys? If you want tactical breakdowns without fluff, subscribe. Cheap swarms didn't erase high-end systems, they taught them a new pace. The lesson is simple and brutal: sense, decide, shoot, faster than the other guy. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict. The next fight runs on time.